Hello and welcome to Edupedia World. So now we have talked about what subdivision modeling is, and I've spoken to you about the advantages. I think it's now time that we take a look at all the different operations, all the different modeling operations we can do to a plane or a sphere or cube or whatever. I will start off with a plane once again, and I'll just hit C to make it editable. And as you can see, we have got these different modes. So when I'm in the edge mode, you'll see I'm able to select edges, and an edge is basically a line between two points or two vertices. If I'm in vertex mode, or as Cinema4D calls it, point mode, then I'm able to select points individually, and I'm also able to select more at once. And if I'm in face mode, I'm able to select faces, and the faces are basically like it's basically a face, so it can have more or less corners. Yeah, I will talk about that some more in a little bit. So when you're selecting a face and moving that around, you can also move the same way by just selecting all 4 points, or selecting like these 2 edges, or all 4 edges. It's all going to do the same. There's no difference between moving like this and moving like this. It's all convenience, because if you have a lot of geometry, let's just try and create some. Now we've got some more edges. If we want to maybe elevate this area right here, we could do it by selecting these, moving up, or we could go into the face mode and just click once. And that's convenient, you know. If you want to do this kind of L shape and move those around, or inset and do some kind of extrusion, then selecting like this is much easier than having to go in here and select each point. So let's just undo some of all of this and get back to this object. I'll just do one subdivision like this, and let's start taking a look at the different tools we have. So if I select a face like this, I am able to do a few things with this face. So if I right click, you'll see a lot of different options. I'm able to create points, I'm able to do bridging, brush, close polygon hole, I'm able to use a polygon pen, I'm able to dissolve, iron, knife, magnet, mirror, set point value, stitch and sew. Well, I'm able to do bevel, extrude, extrude inner, matrix extrude, smooth shift, all this kind of stuff. I'm sure you're able to read it yourself. Let's first take a look at these guys right here. So the bevel, what does that do? When you have the bevel tool selected, you're able to just click and drag, and here you can see what it has done. It has created these lines, and you can change the settings over here. You can also change the offset and the depth. You can also change the extrusion. So as you can see, this basically like moves up, and if there's no subdivision, it's basically moving up and offsetting in and out. If it's set to 0, then it's basically a normal extrusion. I very rarely use the bevel tool. I much more like to use the extrude tool. So if you highlight this, right click, extrude, and then this option is usually off, and if you just click and drag, then you're able to see that you are able to take a face and then move it up, and what the program does is that it creates these faces around that connects the face to the rest of the geometry, like this. But as I said, I rarely use any of these tools. I only use like their operation. So instead of highlighting, right click, extrude, click and drag, I just highlight the face and then I hold Control and drag. In my opinion, that's much easier and much faster. So if we want to do a bevel, which was this, where you could move up and move in, then I would instead just highlight, hold Control, click and drag, press T and scale, and here I've got my bevel. As you will see, let me just show you that right now, actually, because that is very important when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I will create 2 scenarios right here, where we will be doing some subdivision modeling, and in this first example, I'm going to create a corner. Like this, and in this other example I'm also going to create a corner, but I'm going to make this into triangles. And I'm actually going to just remove these 2 edges. There we go. And now I want to take these 2 guys and put them in a subdivision surface. And now we will see how these guys smooth. So if I increase the subdivision value and render, then you'll be able to see that this guy over here, which was only quartz, and when I say quartz, I mean it was purely made out of faces that have 4 sides. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what I call a quad. It's only made of faces with 4 sides. The other guy over here, if I render, you can see it's not completely smooth. There are some weird lines right here. This is completely smooth, but this has some weird lines, and that is because it's made up of triangles. You can see each face, there's a face right here, it has 1, 2, 3 sides, and well, that's a triangle. And these subdivision surfaces, they want only quads. We only want to use quads. If we have a triangle, then we want to find some kind of a way that we can create cuts or change the geometry around to remove these triangles, because the triangles they make are smoothing. They make it bad. As you could see right here, they don't smooth properly. They make this kind of stuff, and we don't want this in our models. So this plane, if we were to add that into a subdivision surface, then it would smooth nicely, as you can see, because it's made up of only quads. So if we were to keep going with our modeling techniques, then you can see if I select this, hold Control, I am able to extrude out. And let me just create a small scenario right here. We've got 2 pieces of geometry like this, and we want to connect it together. Then we actually need to somehow take this vertex and then like weld them together, like make them into one vertex that are in this position, or we could create some geometry that's in the middle. So we can either weld the vertices together, or we can weld these like in pairs, you know, weld them together in pairs, or we can create a bridge between, like create some geometry that covers this ground. So let me just go over both techniques. If you press space, you're able to select these two vertices. If you right click and click weld, then you'll get the weld tool, and as you can see, it basically creates this little line between right here, and depending on where you hover your mouse, you're able to get different places that they're going to be welded. So if I just click in the middle, they're going to take the points and weld them together in the middle. If I click over here, they're going to be welded over there. If I click over here, we get what we want. They are welded to that point. I can then click space to go back to my selection tool, select these two. If I hit space once again, I'm going to go back to the recent tool that I've used. Weld, space, select, space, weld. And there we go, we have now connected this geometry, and that's one way of doing it. I'll just undo and show you the other way that there is. So if you go into edge mode, we can instead create the bridge that I was talking about. So if we right click and choose, where is it? Bridge, then we're able to highlight an edge, just hover over it, click, drag, let go, click, drag, let go. And you can see you can also create a triangle, but we don't want triangles, so I'll just undo this and do like this. But let me actually try and create these two triangles once again, and as you see now, we've got unwanted geometry. We've got triangles, and we do not want these guys. So you may be wondering, how do I remove an edge? And you can remove an edge very easily. Just need to click on the edge and right click and choose dissolve, and dissolve is basically just going to remove it. If you have it highlighted and you just do delete, then it's going to remove the whole polygon. You just want to do dissolve. So let's say we want to or actually let's just go over another operation. We've got something that's called inset. If we were to select like these three faces, right click, extrude inner, we've got the inset tool, and you can see what it does. It basically goes in from the sides, like creates this inset geometry. There's a shortcut for this tool, which is basically I. If you press I, you get this tool. So select, press I, click and drag, and you're able to do this. You could do it once again, press E, move up, and you've got some more geometry. In this case, I would go into edge mode, select these edges, and then move them to this side, and move these this way, to just even out the geometry. Before, this quad up here was very stretched, now it's more square. So let's try to enable this subdivision and see what we've got. So as you can see, we've got these very they're very blobby, these shapes, and in the unsubdivided view they're actually very sharp and like squares, but when we subdivide, it gets all soft. And the way to avoid this, or the way to, it's not, I wouldn't call it avoid it, but a way to make your geometry more sharp is by using something we call support loops. So if I were to just